do most of the videos, although you will see other members of the family pop up from time to time. A little bit about myself. I've done all kinds of jobs over the years: call centres, taxi driving, delivery driving, manufacturing, everything you can think of I've done over the years. What took my wife and I a few years ago was the fact that prices of food and stuff had started to go up then, and as most people are aware now, they've absolutely skyrocketed. But we decided that we wanted our own little place, our own little farm, just kind of build up our own kind of thing. We had a little small holding, about less than half an acre down in North Wales. We decided to take the plunge and move up to the very north of Scotland, just outside Wick, a lovely little village just outside of Wick. And what we're doing here is we want to implement the no-dig method that we've been a big fan of. Other videos, YouTube channels created by people like Charles Dowding, Josh Satin, very, very informative, and we just kind of wanted to take that on ourselves and kind of put that to test and kind of making our own little market garden. I'm currently in our little tractor shed, although the tractor's not in it at the moment. Behind you can see we've got a couple of hay bales and things. These were supplied by a chap just up the road from us. All the locals since we moved up here, because we moved 500 miles north of where we were briefly, so it's not a small move. And all the locals have been very welcoming, very friendly, always like to chip in and kind of lend a hand type thing, so we can't fault the people up here at all. But our aim, now we're in and we're kind of a bit more settled, is we want to do a no-dig kind of market garden. So we're going to set that up and doing various different methods of no-dig market gardening. Now, step one has obviously been to clear the place, because you'll see as I show you around that there are quite a few. Well, I'm not going to lie, the old chap that we bought the place off had neglected it, had left it for rack and ruin. I'll give you a tour, I'll show you some of the fields and the weed problem that we've inherited. And there's other issues beside that, with arguments over a barn and things like that, but I'll go into that another time. But one of the main things I want to show you is just that you can, no matter how dreadful the situation might start, you can get it back. Because we've only been here since January, and I wasn't here for the first month of that because I had to work a month's notice at my old job. You can very quickly get back, get food in the ground and start producing your own food very quickly. Again, using this no-dig method. Now, it does take time to clear the beds, you've got to be willing to put the man hours in, but you can get there. We're going to do other types of farming as well, so we want to look at doing kind of producing a hay crop. My wife is going to do some tutorials on breaking and training of horses as well. But our main focus is wanting to be as eco-friendly veg growing as possible. As I say, we're very limited on resources. A lot of people I know on these YouTube videos and things, they say, well, you can do this, you can build a greenhouse, build a polytunnel. Get this in, do that, use this material, use that material. Oh, I hired a mini digger for a week. Well, hiring a mini digger for a week costs you 600 quid. If you haven't got 600 quid, you can't hire a mini digger for a week. So we want to look at kind of real zero budget to make sure that everyone who watches a video by us kind of really does think, well, actually, you know what, I can do that. If you haven't got a mini digger or you haven't got access to a tractor or anything like that, then you might just need to use a garden spade just to clear some weeds out, or a hoe or something like that. And things like creating your own compost. And guarantee that compost is one of the biggest expenses of people who do no dig on a small scale if they haven't got room for their own compost heap. But even in a small space you can create your own compost, which again, loads of people have got some fantastic videos on doing things like that. And when I do a video on something, I will try to link other videos. I don't believe in kind of my method is my method. I will make mistakes, I will get things wrong. People need to tell me if they think, oh, you can't do that because, and if I ever come across, right, I've done that and that's gone wrong, because I'll tell you and I'll put another video up saying, hang on guys, don't do that. But I say, I'll also link to other people, the likes of Charles Dowding and Josh Satin and people like that who, they've been doing it for years and they've got such a wealth of knowledge. But again, they're very well established, and I'd like people to see kind of from what I'm doing with my market garden, starting from scratch and then building it up to something that I hope it ends up being kind of, quite a good, profitable enterprise for myself and my family. So quick tour of the place. This is, as I say, this is our tractor barn. It's about 30 foot wide, 50 foot long, something like that. And a little bit about the farm. It's a 48.5 acre farm, or croft. It's actually a croft, up in the Highlands of Scotland. We're right by the coast, just off the coast of the North Sea. We actually see the sea from our bedroom window. And this is where we've come and we've chosen. The reason we've moved so far north is cost. Again, you know, for what the price of land we can get up here is nothing compared to what you pay down south. So you get, for what we paid up here, it's about half of what we would have paid if we would stayed down south in Wales. Again, this space at the moment is being set to one side for hay, because it's about time of year for doing the hay crop, and I'm going to put a video up on that probably next week, probably next Sunday. There'll be a video going up on haymaking. I'm trying to aim for about a video a week. Sometimes it'll be 2 videos a week if I've got time, but probably 1 video a week, and it'll probably be a Sunday that they go up, so keep an eye out for them. So this, as I say, this is our tractor barn. Calling it tractor barn, it's just storage shed. That's all it is. It's just going with a little bit of storage. At the moment you can see the hay bales in here, and it's going to get fuller and fuller and fuller as time goes on. So right now we're going to go down, we're going to have a look at some of the fields in the state that they've been left in, and what we've done so far to try and get them back, and have a look at kind of where what our current plans are, because plans do change. Plans will change over time to meet your needs. So you might think, oh right, well I'm going to do this here, and then actually it turns out, actually I want to do something else there. So over time our plans may change and develop slightly, but as of now, I'm going to show you our plans for the future and what we think we're going to be doing in the coming months. Let's go have a look at the rest of the farm. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right, so here I am in our biggest hayfield. And this hayfield is our biggest. It's about 7 or 8 acres, something like that. You can see down the bottom there that there's one of our further fields is quite badly affected by rushes, like the common rushes, like marsh grass as people call it. And that's going to take quite a bit of work to get those sorted. They'll need cutting up, lime on the soil, and then processing and processing and processing, cut after cut after cut after cut after cut, to ensure to get those back. So that's one of the bigger challenges we've got here on the farm. Again, a lot of it is due to the fact that it's been neglected. But what our longer term plans are is to put an orchard down the bottom, to ensure that the wetter ground that is currently affected by those rushes is actually kind of drained up nicely, and it produces a crop for us every year as well. We've got a couple of other fields that we're going to put to hay, and also to keep a few sheep and horses on, because they're very important for keeping our compost levels high. The horses and the sheep will keep the grass, so we can hay the fields. Now the hay will be used for feed over the winter, but it can also be used as a mulch on the beds as well. The horses, we will poo pick the fields daily to ensure that the compost heap is forever growing, and that they will provide us with quite a good level of manure that's quite rich, and it's all stuff off the ground, so nothing is going away from the site, nothing's being wasted, which is quite an important thing, I think, in terms of using no-dig gardening, because you want to ensure that everything can stay on site, and it keeps our costs down. The more compost we can produce, the more compost the animals can produce, then the less we're having to spend out. Just for an example, at the moment I think 3 50-litre bags are about £12 from the local garden centre. So if you're spending that much and you think you need 3 bags for a bed, call it £12 per 20 foot or whatever it is, I think that's roughly what we've worked out. So you need £24 per 40-foot bed, 40-foot bed. So you end up spending a huge amount of money on those beds, whereas the horse has been eating the grass, which costs me nothing, and poo picking the fields costs me nothing. So therefore it's a good sustainable way of ensuring that my beds stay well fertilised, but also my fields are kept nicely as well as that. But again, I will do a proper video on compost and the workings of compost in the future. So the plans for this, at the moment it's been cut, and as I say, next week you'll see the full video on the hay cut. I might also do a couple of videos on hooking up tractors and stuff, but that's a bit more technical. I'm not really that interested in stuff like that for these videos, because these videos I want to really focus on kind of how to keep a market garden kind of running at a lower cost as possible, but to produce your own food from home. Because as I know, at the moment food prices are going through the roof, especially here in the UK, and I just want to ensure that people can know how to produce their own food at home in as money efficient way as possible. That's my aim anyway. See how it goes. So now let's go have a look at the veg field, and we'll see where these gardens are going to go in the future. This behind me is our veg field, or it will be our veg field. As you can see, suffering quite badly at the moment from a severe kind of infestation of weeds, and it's well overgrown and stuff like that. We've even got an old trailer that the old chap before us left in here, and so it's going to take a lot of work to get back. It's about 400 foot long, that field. What we're going to do is going to put 2 foot beds, 1 foot pathways, about 40 foot long each bed, so they're going to be good size but quite narrow, so that we can stand over them to pick any little things out as we're going along. It's going to be cut down in the next couple of weeks, and then we're going to start putting mulches down ready for the spring next year. And the reason for that is you've got to kind of be very ahead of schedule. You've got to plan ahead, make sure that everything's being prepared properly, ready for the following kind of growing season. You've got to make sure what you've got planned next, ahead and ahead and ahead and ahead and ahead, to ensure that you're going to be ready when you're putting in new beds. When the bed's already in, you can get away with a little bit of kind of last minute stuff, but it is always better if you can be prepared ahead of time. So hopefully they're going to be mulched with stuff grown on site, so the compost that's produced on site, and we're going to try and use some of the poorer quality hay that we don't manage to sell as a mulch to really kind of suppress those weeds. We're going to get them right down with, first we're going to have a cut on it, then we're going to really flail mow it down to the ground so that all the weeds are really kind of suppressed as we're coming out of the growing season, so that when they're mulched on top throughout the winter they die off, hopefully that's the plan, and then come the spring they'll be ready to go again. So there's one last thing I want to show you, and that is the current veg garden that we've got in, so let's go and have a look at that now. Right, so here I am in our existing vegetable garden. Now this is just outside the back of the house. Now when we moved in, this was covered in weeds. It was absolutely, well, unusable, to be honest. So what I've had to do, about a 25 foot wide by 40 foot long patch, we've tried 3 different things here. These beds here, these 3 are the newest. They're just over that side. We've had quite a good success with some potatoes and a little bit of garlic. Now what we did with those was we just stripped out the weeds, used a hand rotavator, which to be honest I'm not really wanting to do in the future, but the ground was that bad it kind of needed it. It was all lumpy and full of stones and stuff like that, so we just had to do it, kind of do a complete flat reset. But I'll go into that in more detail in later videos. And we've had quite good success with some potatoes over there and a little bit of garlic. But again, with rotavating it, we've had quite a big problem with weeds coming through, and it has taken quite a bit of work to kind of keep the weeds at bay. We're trying out 2 different methods here. So we've got this bed here is covered. We're going to see how that mulches over winter. This bed over here, we've got a few plants in, but we've not bothered mulching it. So these are using the no-dig method. And in this one there's nothing planted. In this one we've got some radishes, carrots, Swiss chard and spinach. And then you can see over the far side there, what I did there was I actually cleared it, then I used the rotavator on the tractor just to completely obliterate the soil. Again, we've had not as a substantial issue with weeds, but we still have had quite a weed issue there, especially in comparison to the no-dig beds. But they've had no fertiliser on them, whereas these have had fresh manure put on them, and then they've had a topping of garden centre bought compost. So we're going to see what the comparison is, but again you can see we've had quite good success with our potatoes over there. It's mainly potatoes that we've had success with this year. We've already had a little bit of a harvest. We'll put them in February, which is a bit early to be honest. Not February, sorry, March it was we put them in, which is a bit early to be honest. We harvested them last week, had 2 nice big dinners out of them. There's 6 of us, there's me, my wife and our 4 children. So we've had nice dinners out of those over the past few days, and then let's say we've got more to come out throughout the year as it goes on. So we're hoping we might get a few bits and bobs out of these, but I'm not too fussed if they don't. Got some radishes have sprouted up, and just having a look and see what else comes through. But my main objective so far is just to kind of get these beds in. These are only 20 foot long, these no-dig beds at the moment, which is all I had at the time to put in. But all the beds in the proper, when I put the market garden in properly over in the field, they're going to be 40 foot long beds. But again, just plain simple horse muck going down, compost on top, just to really kind of regenerate the soil. And this patch, to be honest, needed a lot of regeneration because the old chap hadn't looked after it. the soil was completely dead, and it was just full of kind of disgusting weeds. I mean, you might even be able to see over there, just in the background, just how bad some of the weed problem has got. I mean, the docks are kind of 4 foot high in places, which is just ridiculous, if you ask me. But there we go. So this is the kind of thing we're going to do moving forward. This is the kind of thing I want to have a look at in greater detail as well in future videos. I say next video I'm going to do is going to be a video on haying, but I'm also in that video going to talk about the way that you can use hay as a mulch, so that over winter you can put that down as a nice thick mulch to start your bed, and you know, kind of put down some compost on top of it, and you can let it really sink in, rot down, and have a look at everything that way. But that's going to be a video that is released next week. Further into the future, I want to look at actually building one of these beds. All I've marked them out with is string and a couple of chopped up bits of batten. So we're going to look at that in a lot more detail, and the way that I've done it, and the depth and things, and what you can use to do them, but also the clearing of the land to make sure that the beds are prepared. I want to go into that in a lot more detail, and we'll just have a look at week by week things I've had to do on the farm to get the market garden running, to get the place operational. Even just things like clearing out a shed, you know, kind of where some people face it and they're not quite sure where to go. I'll just film myself doing it and talk about what I'm doing to see how effective it can be, and just showing people that yeah, it might not take a day, it might take a while, and it might take redoing and redoing and redoing until you fit a plan that works for you. But we'll have a look at everything as we go along. But the idea is kind of a video log, kind of I say instructional videos rather than educational videos, because I will make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. One of my old bosses, one of his favourite lines was, "A man who never made a mistake never made anything." Now I know that's not very PC, because women also make mistakes, and women will also never achieve anything if they don't. But there we go, that was my old boss for you. But that's what we're going to do moving forwards. So I hope you've enjoyed the quick tour, whistle-stop tour of my farm, or my croft rather, and I